Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today it's a top 10 list, and today it's the Star Trek Into the Unknown top 10 ships we're hoping to see, or more specifically for me, top 10 ships I'm hoping to see show up in this game. This Star Trek Into the Unknown is set to come out later this year. And there's definitely a lot of hype surrounding it, a lot of anticipation, especially from me. I am definitely looking forward to creating more content. A lot of you guys have been asking me. I know there's like preview kits, there's videos that are going out all over the place. I'm having to wait for the green light from Wiz Kids for those to go live. So once that happens, there will be a lot more Star Trek Into the Unknown content coming out. But for now, I'm restricting some of that to some of the speculation and wish list content. But there is a lot more that is going to be coming out. Also, we are doing a new giveaway, $25 Amazon gift card. All you have to do to enter to win that is to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. When this comes out, we'll do a bigger giveaway for a core set, and we'll do some other good stuff like that. But in the meantime, we're going to kick things back off. We haven't done giveaways in a little while, and we're doing some more. We kind of wrapped them up around the holidays. It's time to start a new round of giveaways. So if you're already subscribed, you're halfway there, make sure you leave a comment. I want to hear what did you agree with on this list? What did you disagree with? What would have been in your top 10? Let me know down in the comments section. With all that being said, we're going to get ahead and jump into this list with a little bit of a controversial pick, I think, for my number 10. Now, this is just my own opinion on these, but maybe some of you will agree. I'm hoping to see the Intrepid Class, aka Voyager. Definitely want to see some more love for Star Trek Voyager. This is a series that was underappreciated at its time, and for some good reasons. I didn't always like Voyager very much. After doing a rewatch of it a few years back, I came to kind of view it with a slightly different light. I think Voyager's seen a little bit of more popularity with Star Trek Picard, kind of paying a little bit of tribute to just parts of Voyager. And I think it's about time we kind of revisit Voyager and give it some love. I don't think the show started out particularly well. I definitely didn't like the premise of the pilot and a lot of those core mechanics that made the show start. But as it went on, it got progressively better and better. And there was an episode where they sort of made an apology for the premise of the pilot. And I was just like, after a rewatch, I think it holds up better than a lot of other ones. So I think Voyager is definitely, the show itself is pretty good, but I'm really looking forward to seeing the Intrepid Class with like the movable nacelles. And it's, because it is a science vessel primarily, more so than a combat vessel, or it could actually have some really interesting functions in the game as well. So I think an Intrepid Class would be a really cool ship to show up. Also very iconic and recognizable, and probably underrepresented amongst popular Star Trek imagery. So I think the Intrepid Class would be a great one to show up here. Number 9, the Future Enterprise. This is an amazing ship, and I think for a lot of people, maybe it's going to rank a little bit higher on your lists. I ranked this one lower because I wanted to talk about it quicker. I didn't want to wait till the end, so maybe my numbers are a little out of order here. But I love the look of this ship. Best series finale ever. Star Trek The Next Generation finale, one possible future. They paid off. They made this ship look absolutely spectacular. The third nacelle, the extra weaponry, that giant lance that comes out of the central phaser bank is just incredible. Really, really cool ship. It goes warp 13, all kinds of crazy stuff. It might be a little overpowered to put into the game, maybe. It is a future ship after all, so it might not fit in there. Plus, we already have, a Galaxy class. We already have the Enterprise, so this would probably have to wait a little while. But still, if the possibility for it is there, I would love to see the Future Enterprise show up. It's definitely, I think it's a crowd favorite, a fan favorite, but it's also kind of like, I take that... kind of like the Star Killer in Star Wars, and a lot of people want to see him show up in games, but he might be overpowered. It's kind of the same thing here. Like, do you really want something that's like potentially, game breaking to show up in the game? Maybe not. Maybe at least not right away. Maybe once there's some kind of balancing factor, and eventually possibly, but either way, just the artwork, I mean, is going to be incredible. So definitely would love to see this one show up. Speaking of enterprises, I'm going with an Excelsior class, and specifically the Enterprise B, which is a slight variation on the Excelsior class, but I'd love. I'm pretty sure the Excelsior class is a common enough vessel and class vessel that we're going to see them show up. But I would love to see the Enterprise B show up because it is the most beautiful Excelsior class vessel ever. Really, really popular ship amongst a lot of fleet junkies who talk about some of their favorite ship designs. I really loved this one. We finally got to see it in Generations, which was a pretty cool movie, and it's definitely worth a rewatch. But yeah, very cool ship. Just hopefully it remembers to leave space dock with the tractor beam, things like that. Very cool stuff. All right, we're moving on to number 7. Another controversial pick coming up here. Some of you might hate it, some of you might love it. It's the OBirth class vessel, the smallest, rinky-dinkiest ship in all of Starfleet that actually counts as an actual ship, right? I've loved this ship. It used to kind of just be background fodder. I just love the fact that it adds. You've got to have some small ships to make the big ships feel important. And I'd always loved the look of this with the very, very small saucer section. There usually is some kind of science vessel. They're out doing some kind of survey work. This isn't a combat ship. This isn't a diplomatic ship. This is this is a ship that's out there just to kind of, hey, let's do some scans of this moon or this comet or something like that. But since this game isn't only about combat, it definitely can do combat. But since it's not only about combat, I feel like there's definitely a place for support ships. And well, if you've seen some of the spoiler rule stuff that's going around there's definitely some iconography built into the game that shows a silhouette of this ship. So I'd say it's pretty likely that we're going to see an OBirth class. But regardless of that, I'm still looking forward to it. Moving up, something else I think is pretty likely, one of my favorite ship designs in the Federation. It's the Nebula class. I love the Nebula class. There's a lot of variations on it, whether you have kind of like the triangle top or that dome, saucer, section above the saucer section. There's a lot of different variations on it. If you play Star Trek Online, every ship has tons of variations in which you can customize, but only so many are like canon and seen on screen. I really love the look of the Nebula. It's always been kind of used as a ship that was a capable ship, but not the top of the line. It's not necessarily in exactly the same weight class as the Galaxy class, but it's not too far off. I feel like a Nebula class could probably fit the role of a good support ship or a good medium base in this game. That's going to be definitely bigger than the small ships like the Defiant and the OBirth, but not quite as big as like a Sovereign or a Galaxy class. So I would guess that that's probably about the role for it. Again, a slightly smaller yet still capable ship makes those bigger ships feel even more powerful, and I love the that dynamic that it would have, especially since they're doing such a more true scale with this game. This one can just fit the bill perfectly and really help your bigger ships kind of stand out and look bigger next to slightly smaller yet still significant ships. And I love the Nebula for that. Plus, it's just a cool looking design. Now, they're not all Federation ships. Coming up next is, at number 5, the Kardashian Galore class. I love the Kardashian ships. The Galores are very, very common. We saw a lot of those. There are other Kardashian ships as well, but I think this is the most common. Kind of represents, almost looks like the type of toothpick you would pick and eat fruit with, or a cross between that and a guitar pick. But no, I really like the look of these. And also, another really cool thing about the way this game is structured, we don't necessarily have to run an entire Cardassian fleet. You can include ships from other species, other races, because there's this whole system where, hey, Benjamin Sisko is allies with the Bajorans, so you could bring in a Bajoran ship. Maybe you have somebody who's allied with the Cardassians. And there are definitely, if you watch Deep Space Nine, there are definitely certain Cardassians that are friendly to the Federation. I feel like if we're going to go back to TNG era, Gulevec might have been a good person to. He was definitely still loyal, but like, you know, he was kind of friendly. I don't know. There's definitely things. There may be ways to have the Cardassians kind of potentially team up with the Federation. If not, they'll definitely team up with certain other races like the Dominion. You definitely will see some Dominion and Cardassian kind of hybrid fleets. I think that'll definitely happen, as well as certain other ones like the Breen or the Romulans and things like that. So, but yeah, this is really very iconic for much of a little bit of Next Generation, but a lot of Deep Space Nine. These were everywhere, and can't wait to see how well they will look with the the upgraded miniature quality that Wiz Kids has shown us so far. I bet these are going to be very impressive. Moving up into a little in the wild and crazy, it's the Prometheus class. You saw this in Star Trek Voyager, and probably have seen it in Star Trek Online or other similar things. Look, the Prometheus class is a cool looking ship. It's got those 4 nacelles that you might have seen on the Stargazer, but it's got that arrowhead sort of front section. What makes this ship higher on my list and where it is not how it looks, but what it can do. This is a ship that can separate into 3 different parts, and that's really cool. It's actually so cool, in fact, because we already know that system and that functionality is sort of represented with how the Galaxy class can have the saucer section separate. Now, we don't know a whole lot of details about how that's going to work yet. I'm looking forward to getting more information about the game and learning how that separation will work. But based on how that may work, it could easily pave the way for the Prometheus class to do something very similar, albeit perhaps more complex because there are 3 parts instead of 2. But I'm looking forward to this being like the next challenge and seeing how well they can do it. But it's also a very cool looking class. I'd love to see the Prometheus show up. Back to more alien races. It's, of course, the Klingon Bird of Prey. The most iconic non-Federation ship in all of Star Trek, in my opinion. I think most would agree. I love the Klingon Bird of Prey. I've always loved the Klingon Bird of Prey. It's such a well-designed ship. They barely had to change it from like classic Trek to the modern era. It hasn't seen many changes. Now, there are different classes like the Kavort class or the Burrell class. I'll be honest with you, I don't really know too much of the differences between all of the different classes. The point is the Klingon Bird of Prey, for the most part, is instantly recognizable and really serves as a good small ship to support either like a swarm or to support like to be an escort for a larger ship like a Vorcha or something else. And I definitely expect Worf to potentially allow you to bring Klingons into a Federation fleet, and I really want to see like a Galaxy, the Enterprise flanked by 2 birds of prey backing them up, like you've seen in so many of the episodes. I definitely expect something like that to be possible, and I'm also wondering if they'll let the wings adjust too. I think that this would be a really cool challenge to see if the wings could adjust. Also, we do know that cloaking is going to be, or stealth is going to be, a part of the game, and I think the Klingons will be a really good option for showcasing that. And the Bird of Prey is a great ship that's known for its hit-and-run tactics that will probably rely heavily on cloaking. Cool stuff. Moving up to number 2, might be controversial here. It's the California class. Now, I want to know how many of you watching have seen Lower Decks. This is the principal ship featured on Lower Decks, a California class, the Cerritos. I'll be honest, I did not want to like this show. I was not a fan of the concept of, they're going to do an animated Star Trek, and it's going to be kind of like in a Rick and Morty style thing. I hadn't watched Rick and Morty at the time, didn't want to like this. I heard that the humor was going to be a little on the crude side, and I was never more delighted to be wrong when I watched the show, and I was like just blown away with how wonderful and delightful it was. Lower Decks is a really good show, and I think one of the beauties, while the Cerritos isn't, it's not necessarily the most beautiful ship of the line, it is going to be a gateway to get Lower Decks characters in the game. And it also makes me wonder, since they hired artists and they have a whole new art style for this game, what would the Cerritos' characters look like transitioned into Star Trek Into the Unknown? Because they have had a crossover episode with live action. It's very cool, and they kind of break the fourth wall a little bit, and they they poke fun at Star Trek. This could be a really cool April Fool's Day release for like maybe 2025 or something like that. Not sure, but I'd love to see the Cerritos show up in the game and capitalize on the popularity that this show has. It's doing quite well. If you are a Star Trek fan and you haven't watched Lower Decks yet, I definitely recommend it strongly because it is wonderful and delightful and funny, and it's a little crude, but it's not too bad. All right, we're going to move to number one. Before you get to number one, pause the video. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think I have picked for number one? I'll give you a hint. It's not a Federation vessel. With that hint laid out, you can pause now. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. It is the Romulan warbird Dedex class, the most beautiful starship perhaps ever created. Perhaps. I think this trumps an Imperial Star Destroyer every day. I think it's wonderful and very aerodynamic because there's so much air that goes in between this thing. Although it would be very vulnerable to fighter attack because they could just like go up in there and just start blasting, but I think they'd have to make it through the shields. Look, the Romulans always have been a massive threat. When this ship showed up in Next Generation, it was like, wow, these guys have got some upgrades. And look, it's a beautiful ship. It's larger than they were always larger than the Enterprise, so they're going to be big. You've got a large base already, but they'll probably even be big for the large bases of Into the Unknown. Cannot wait to see how a Dedex will look in scale and also, basically visually upgraded because again, Wiz Kids is doing a really, really good work with these miniatures so far. I'm sure it will look absolutely gorgeous. And I can't wait to check this thing out. I love the idea of the Romulans. I'd be happy to play a Romulan fleet and go to war with the Federation. But there's also a whole lot of like Cold War espionage that happens with the Romulans. They can cloak as well, but they don't have to. It's one thing when a Klingon bird of prey decloaks, but it's a whole other thing when a Romulan warbird decloaks, let alone 2 of them, and you're like, oh no, we are going to die. I love that presence that they have, and I feel like they could be so powerful in this game. There's a lot of other really cool Romulan ships. They have the little science vessels as well. They also have some of the really larger ships like that we've seen in the movies. And there's big things like the Scimitar, which could be a little overpowered for the game. Not exactly sure. I think they could still do it, but it'd have to be some kind of special scenario of like 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3 or something like that. I feel like there's ways to do just about anything in Star Trek, but this is a ship that fits into everything. It's absolutely just menacing and gorgeous and beautiful, and I think it'll have really good tabletop appeal as well, which is going to be another important thing for this game. So can't wait to see the Romulan warbirds show up, and basically it looks like we're going to be getting a lot of the typical races: Cardassians, Klingons, Romulans. Can't wait to get more details on those, and of course we will bring you the latest as it comes out for Star Trek Into the Unknown. So if you're already subscribed, you're in the right place. I'd love to have you guys stick around, like the video, share the video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Also, check out our Discord. We got a great family-friendly Discord linked down in the video description as well. We'll be bringing more coverage on this and other amazing tabletop games as they come out. I will talk to you guys later. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Big thanks to my patrons. You guys are out of this world and help make this whole channel possible. I will talk to you later. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes. The spice must flow. So say we all. And always wash your socks.